Captain Lee Daeho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable Will, watching the stars through the main viewing screen. The ship moved quietly through space, its engines humming softly. Around him, his crew worked at their stations. They all looked calm, but Lee knew they were worried. The orders they had received 3 days ago were strange. "Captain," said Communications Officer Yoon Da-yoon, "we are getting a message from Earth Command." Lee turned to face her. "Put it through." Admiral Kim Woo-jin appeared on the screen. His face looked serious. "Captain Lee, your mission is simple. Take your ship to the Kepler sector and patrol the area. Look for anything unusual." "Sir, that sector is mostly empty space," Lee said. "Why would we need to patrol there?" The Admiral was quiet for a moment. "Just follow your orders, Captain. And remember what we talked about before you left." The screen went dark. Lee remembered their private meeting very well. The Admiral had told him something that seemed impossible. He had said that humanity might soon face a great test. He had said that the other alien races in the galaxy were planning something bad for humans. Lee walked over to his chief engineer, Park So-min. She was working on a control panel, her fingers moving quickly over the buttons. She was one of the smartest people Lee had ever met. She could fix anything and build things that no one else could imagine. "So-min," Lee said quietly, "how are our special systems?" She looked up at him and smiled. "All working perfectly, Captain. The new armor is ready. The weapons are ready. Everything we built in secret is ready." Lee nodded. For the past 5 years, a small group of humans had been working on new technology. They had done this work in secret, away from the eyes of the other alien races. The Galactic Federation thought humans were weak and stupid. They thought human technology was far behind everyone else's. They were wrong. Dr. Choi Ye-jin walked up to them. She was the ship's doctor and scientist. She studied alien races and how they thought. "Captain, I have been watching the galactic news feeds. The Hegemony Council is meeting today. They are talking about the human problem again. The Hegemony was made up of 4 powerful alien races. The Vorthak looked like giant crystals that could think and move. The Nelthrani were like clouds of gas that could change shape. The Zephirites looked like huge bugs with many arms and legs. The Umnari were part machine and part living creature. These 4 races controlled most of the galaxy." "What are they saying?" Lee asked. "They think humans are taking up too much space," Dr. Choi said. "They want to move all human colonies to mining worlds. They want to make us work in their mines and factories." Lee felt angry, but he kept his face calm. This was what Admiral Kim had warned him about. The alien races saw humans as nothing more than workers. They thought humans were too weak to fight back. Lieutenant Bae Jun-ho looked up from his weapons station. "Captain, I'm reading ships on our sensors. Big ships. Coming our way." Lee moved to his command chair. "How many ships?" 12, sir. They are hegemony dreadnoughts, very big, very powerful." The crew on the bridge became quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. 12 alien dreadnoughts could destroy entire planets. One human ship, even a new one like the Indomitable Will, should have no chance against them. "Put the alien ships on screen," Lee ordered. The viewing screen changed to show 12 massive ships moving toward them. Each ship was 3 times bigger than the Indomitable Will. They looked like floating cities made of metal and crystal. Weapons covered their hulls like scales on a dragon. "Incoming message," said Yoon Da-yoon. "Put it on screen." A tall crystal being appeared on the screen. His body was made of blue and purple crystal that seemed to glow from inside. This was Admiral Kethmore of the Vorthak. His voice sounded like breaking glass when he spoke. "Human vessel," Kethmore said. "You will stop your engines and prepare to be boarded. By order of the Hegemony Council, all human ships must surrender." Lee stood up slowly. Around him, his crew waited for his orders. Sergeant Han Mi-young moved her hand closer to her weapon. Engineer Park So-min's fingers hovered over her controls. "Admiral Kethmore," Lee said in a calm voice. "This is Captain Lee Daeho of the Human Defense Forces. We are in open space following our legal rights under Galactic Federation law." The crystal alien made a sound like laughing, but it was cold and harsh. "Federation law no longer applies to humans. The Hegemony Council has decided that your species is a failed experiment. You will be relocated to worlds where you can be useful." "Useful how?" Lee asked, though he already knew the answer. "As workers. As servants. Your colonies will be dissolved. Your ships will be taken apart. Your people will work in our mines until you learn your place in the galaxy." Dr. Choi whispered to Lee. "He is trying to make us afraid. This is how they control other races." Lee nodded. He had studied the records of other species that had faced the hegemony. They had all given up without a fight. They had been too scared to resist. "I see," Lee said to the alien admiral. "And if we refuse?" Kethmore's crystal body flashed brighter. "Then you will be destroyed. But I will give you one chance. Surrender now and your crew will be allowed to live as slaves. Fight us and you will all die." Lee looked around his bridge. His crew was ready. They had trained for this moment for years. The alien races thought humans were weak because they had only seen human trading ships and exploration vessels. They had never seen what humans could really do when they were ready for war. "Admiral Kethmore," Lee said, "I have a message for you and your Hegemony Council." "Speak," the alien said. Lee smiled. "We humans have an old saying. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog." The alien looked confused. "What does this mean?" "It means," Lee said, "that you are about to learn why you should never corner a human." He made a cutting motion with his hand, and Yunda-un cut the communication. The alien ships were still coming toward them, getting closer every second. "All stations, battle ready," Lee ordered. "So-min, bring our special systems online." "Yes, Captain," Park So-min said. Her hands moved over her controls. "Adaptive armor is activating. Kinetic weapons are charging. Dimensional drive is ready." Lieutenant Bae Jun-ho smiled as his weapons came online. "Weapons ready, Captain." Sergeant Han Mi-young checked her sidearm. "Marines ready for boarding operations, sir." Lee sat in his command chair and watched the alien fleet approach. They thought they were hunting one small human ship. They thought this would be easy. They were about to learn that humanity had been preparing for this day for a very long time. The indomitable will waited in space, looking small and weak compared to the 12 giant alien ships. But looks could be very deceiving. The galaxy was about to see what humans could really do when they stopped pretending to be harmless. The alien fleet formed a circle around the human ship. Admiral Kethmore was probably feeling very pleased with himself. He thought he had caught a mouse in a trap. He had no idea that he was the one who was trapped. The 12 alien dreadnoughts moved into attack position around the indomitable will. Each ship was huge, covered in weapons that could destroy cities. Their hulls gleamed with energy shields that could stop any normal attack. Admiral Kethmore felt confident as he looked at the small human ship on his screen. "All ships," Kethmore said to his fleet, "prepare to fire. We will give these humans one more chance to surrender." On the bridge of the indomitable will, Captain Lee Dae-ho watched the alien ships surround them. His crew was ready. They had spent years training for this moment. The galaxy thought humans were weak, but they were about to learn the truth. "Captain," said Lieutenant Bae Jun-ho, "they are charging their weapons. Plasma cannons, fusion torpedoes, and energy beams. Enough firepower to turn a moon into dust." "Let them charge," Lee said calmly. "So-min, are our systems ready?" Chief Engineer Park. So-min smiled. "All systems are online, Captain. The adaptive armor is analyzing their weapon signatures right now. The kinetic cannons are loaded and ready. The dimensional drive is standing by." Dr. Choi Ye-jin looked at her scanner. "Captain, I am reading energy spikes from all 12 ships. They are about to fire everything they have at us." Lee nodded. "Good. We want them to show us everything they can do." Admiral Kethmore's voice came over the communication system one last time. "Human ship, this is your final warning. Surrender now or be destroyed." Lee stood up from his command chair. "All hands, this is the captain. Today we show the galaxy who we really are. Today we stop pretending to be weak. Today humanity takes its place among the stars." He turned to Lieutenant Bae. "Fire control, wait for my order." "Yes, sir," Bae said, his finger hovering over the firing controls. "Communications," Lee said to Yoon Da-eun. "Open a channel to the alien fleet." "Channel open, Captain." Lee looked directly at the screen where he knew Admiral Kethmore would see him. "Admiral, you asked what our saying means. Let me show you." He sat back down. "All alien ships, this is Captain Lee Dae-ho of the Human Defense Forces. You came here thinking you would find sheep. Instead, you found wolves." The communication ended. For a moment, space was quiet. Then Admiral Kethmore gave the order. "All ships, fire everything. 12 massive alien warships opened fire at the same time. Plasma beams hot enough to melt metal shot through space. Fusion torpedoes that could crack planets streaked toward the human ship. Energy weapons that had destroyed 1,000 worlds focused their power on the indomitable will. The space around the human ship turned white with energy. The attack was so powerful that ships watching from far away had to dim their screens. Any normal vessel would have been turned into atoms in the first second, but the indomitable will was not a normal ship. Adaptive armor is responding, Park So-min reported. It's learning from their attacks, converting plasma energy to power our systems, deflecting kinetic impacts, energy absorption at 90% efficiency. The white light faded. The alien weapons stopped firing. Admiral Kethmore stared at his screen in shock. The human ship was still there. It was not damaged. In fact, it seemed to be glowing with absorbed energy. Impossible, Kethmore whispered. On the human bridge, Lee smiled. Now it's our turn. Jun-ho, show them what human weapons can do. Lieutenant, Bae Jun-ho had been waiting for this moment his whole life. Firing kinetic cannons, the indomitable will fired back. But these were not energy weapons like the aliens used. These were solid projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds. They moved so fast, they seemed to bend space around them. They were made of metals that the aliens had never seen before. The first projectile hit Admiral Kethmore's flagship. The alien ship's energy shields tried to stop it, but kinetic weapons didn't care about energy shields. The projectile punched through the shield like it wasn't there. It tore through the alien ship's hull through 3 decks and out the other side. The second and third projectiles hit 2 more Vorthax ships. Crystal armor that had protected them for 1,000 years cracked like glass. Alien crew members screamed as their ships began to break apart. Impossible, Admiral Kethmore shouted. Their weapons cannot penetrate our shields. But they could, and they did. The human weapons worked on principles that the aliens had never understood. While the aliens had focused on energy weapons, humans had perfected the art of throwing very hard things very fast. So-min, Lee said, show them our next surprise. Park So-min pressed a series of controls. Engaging dimensional drive. The indomitable will suddenly disappeared. One moment it was surrounded by alien ships. The next moment it was gone. Admiral Kethmore's sensors couldn't find it anywhere. Where did they go? One of the alien captains asked over the communication system. The answer came when the human ship appeared directly behind 3 Nelthrani vessels. The gaseous aliens had no time to react before more kinetic projectiles tore through their ships. Their gas-formed bodies couldn't survive in the vacuum of space when their ships were destroyed. The indomitable will disappeared again and reappeared on the other side of the alien fleet. This time it targeted the Zephyrite ships. The insect-like aliens tried to turn their weapons around, but the human ship was too fast. It could appear anywhere in the battle area in seconds. 2 more alien ships exploded as kinetic rounds punched through their hulls. The Zephyrites made high-pitched screaming sounds as their ships died around them. All ships, focus fire on the human vessel, Admiral Kethmore ordered, but it was hard to focus fire on a ship that could teleport. Dr. Choi Ye-jin watched her instruments. Captain, the alien formations are breaking apart. They are starting to panic. Their leaders are shouting at each other in 6 different languages. Lee nodded. Fear is a powerful weapon. They thought they were hunters, but now they know they are prey. Sergeant Han Mi-young stepped up to the captain's chair. Sir, should I prepare boarding parties? Not yet, Lee said. First, let's show them one more human innovation. He turned to Park So-min. Activate the surprise we built into the weapons. So-min grinned and pressed another control. Hacking protocols are active. The aliens were about to learn that human weapons were smarter than they looked. The kinetic projectiles that had been fired into their ships weren't just bullets. They were tiny computers that could connect to alien ship systems and take control. On Admiral Kethmore's flagship, his weapons officer reported in panic. Admiral, our weapons are turning around. They are aiming at our own ships. 3 alien vessels suddenly began firing at their own fleet. Their computers had been taken over by human technology. The aliens watched in horror as their own weapons destroyed their allies. This is impossible, Admiral Kethmore screamed. How are they doing this? Captain Lee answered him over the communication system. Admiral, you have been fighting wars the same way for 10,000 years. You have forgotten that some species learn new tricks. In just 10 minutes, the human ship had destroyed 6 alien dreadnoughts and damaged 4 others. Only 2 ships were still completely functional, and their crews were terrified. Lieutenant Bei Jun-ho looked at his captain. Sir, should we finish them? Lee thought for a moment. No. Leave 2 ships alive. I want them to go back and tell their leaders what happened here. He opened communications to the surviving alien ships. Attention, Hegemony Fleet. This is Captain Lee Dae-ho. You came here to destroy 1 human ship with 12 of your best vessels. Instead, you have lost 10 ships to that 1 human vessel. Go back to your leaders. Tell them what you have seen. Tell them that humanity is no longer hiding what we can do. Admiral Kethamore's crystal body was cracked with stress. His voice shook when he spoke. This cannot be real. How long have you been hiding this technology? Long enough, Lee said. We have been watching you, learning from you and preparing for this day. You thought we were weak because we chose to appear weak. That was our first advantage over you. The 2 surviving alien ships began to retreat. Their captains had seen enough. They needed to report back to the Hegemony Council that everything they thought they knew about humans was wrong. As the alien ships limped away, Dr. Choi looked at her captain. Sir, this battle was broadcast on emergency channels. The entire galaxy saw what happened here. Lee nodded. Good. Let them all see. Let them know that humanity is no longer pretending to be harmless. The indomitable will hung in space, surrounded by the wreckage of 10 alien warships. The ship that had looked so small and weak had proven that appearances could be very deceiving. In the distance, emergency beacons flashed from the destroyed alien vessels. Rescue ships would come for the survivors. But the survivors would carry a message that would change the galaxy forever. Humanity was no longer prey. The hunters had become the hunted. Across the galaxy, alien leaders watched their screens in shock. The battle in the Kepler sector was being broadcast on every emergency channel. They had just seen 1 human ship destroy 10 of the most powerful warships in the galaxy. On the Vorthak homeworld, the Crystal Council gathered in their great hall. Their leader, Prime Crystal Veltar, spoke in a voice like breaking ice. How is this possible? Our ships were the strongest in the galaxy. Our weapons could destroy planets. On the gas world of Nelthros, the cloud mines swirled in confusion. They had always believed that their energy weapons were unstoppable. They had conquered 50 worlds with those weapons. Now they had seen them fail completely against 1 small human ship. The Zephyrite hives buzzed with fear. Their insect minds could not understand how their perfect battle formations had been so easily destroyed. They had attacked in perfect coordination, just like they always did. It should have worked. The Omnari network processed the battle data over and over, but their computers could not explain what they had seen. Their logical minds could not accept that their technology was inferior to human science. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the indomitable will, Captain Lee Dae-ho received a priority message from Earth. Admiral Kim Woo-jin appeared on the screen, and he was smiling. Captain Lee, the Admiral said, the whole galaxy is talking about your battle. Every species leader wants to know how we did it. What are your orders, sir? Lee asked. Continue your mission, but be ready for anything. The Hegemony Council is holding an emergency meeting. They are scared, and scared aliens can be dangerous. Dr. Choi Ye-jin looked up from her station. Captain, I am receiving communications from dozens of different species. They all want to talk to us. What are they saying? Lee asked. Most of them are congratulating us, but some are asking if we will attack them next. They are afraid of us now. Communications Officer Yoon Da-eun turned to face the captain. Sir, we are getting a message from the Hegemony Council. They want to talk. Lee sat down in his command chair. Put them through. The main screen showed 4 alien leaders. Prime Crystal Veltar of the Vorthak looked angry. Cloudmind Surfi of the Nelthrani seemed worried. Hive Queen Zaktor of the Zephyrite was making threatening gestures with her many arms. Network Node 7 of the Omnari showed no emotion at all. Prime Crystal Veltar spoke first. Human Captain, you have destroyed our ships and killed our people. This is an act of war. Captain Lee remained calm. Your ships attacked us first. We defended ourselves. Under galactic law, we had the right to protect our vessel. You used weapons that should not exist, Cloudmine Sci-fi said. Your technology is impossible. How did you hide this from us? Lee smiled. We learned from watching you. For 50 years, you treated us like children. You thought we were too stupid to understand your science. You were wrong. Hive Queen Zaktor clicked her mandibles angrily. You have upset the balance of power in the galaxy. This cannot be allowed. The balance was already upset, Lee said. You had all the power and everyone else had none. Now things are more equal. Network Node 7 processed this information and spoke in its mechanical voice. Captain Lee, our analysis shows that your ship should not have been able to defeat our fleet. Please explain your technology. Lee laughed. Why would I do that? So you can build defenses against it? I don't think so, Engineer Park Soman whispered to Lee. Captain, our sensors are detecting more ships heading our way. It looks like the hegemony is sending reinforcements. Lee nodded and spoke to the alien leaders again. I understand you are sending more ships to fight us. That is your choice. But let me warn you about something. What warning? Prime Crystal Veltar demanded. The Indomitable Will is not the only ship like this. Humanity has been building a fleet. If you want a war, we are ready for one. This was not entirely true. The Indomitable Will was the first ship of its kind, and only a few more were being built. But the aliens didn't need to know that. The 4 alien leaders looked at each other with fear in their eyes. If humanity had a whole fleet of ships like this one, the hegemony could be destroyed. How many ships do you have? Network Node 7 asked. Lee smiled but said nothing. Sometimes the best weapon was fear of the unknown. Lieutenant Bei Jun-ho reported from his station. Captain, 24 new ships approaching. They are hegemony vessels, but they are staying far away from us. Smart of them, Lee said. They want to see what we do next. Sergeant Han Mi-young stepped forward. Captain, should I prepare the boarding teams? Yes, Lee said. If they want to see our next surprise, let's show them. Dr. Choi Ye-jin looked worried. Captain, boarding their ships could be very dangerous. We don't know what defenses they have. We know enough, Lee said. Soman, prepare the teleportation system. Park Soman's eyes lit up. Yes, sir. Quantum teleportation is ready for combat use. The alien leaders on the screen heard this and became even more frightened. Teleportation was considered impossible by most galactic scientists. The fact that humans could do it meant their technology was far more advanced than anyone had thought. Teleportation is a myth, Prime Crystal Veltar said. No species has ever mastered that technology. No alien species, Lee corrected. But then we're not aliens. We're humans. He cut the communication and turned to his crew. All right, people. Let's show the galaxy what human Marines can do. Sergeant Han Mi-young gathered her team of 20 Marines. They wore armor that looked simple compared to alien technology, but it was far more advanced than it appeared. Like everything else on the Indomitable Will, the Marine equipment was designed to be underestimated. Listen up, Sergeant Han told her team. We are going to board the enemy flagship. Our job is to capture their command center and show them that nowhere is safe from human forces. The Marines checked their weapons. They carried guns that fired the same kinetic rounds as the ship's main weapons, just smaller. They also carried devices that could hack alien computers and take control of enemy systems. Teleportation ready, Park So-min reported. I can put the Marine team anywhere on the enemy ship. Lee studied the alien flagship on his screen. It was huge with thousands of crew members, but size didn't matter when you could appear anywhere you wanted. Put them in the command center, Lee ordered. Right next to the alien captain. Yes, sir, So-min said. She activated the teleportation system. On the bridge of the alien flagship, Admiral Keithmore was trying to plan his next attack when 20 human Marines suddenly appeared around him. His crystal body flashed with shock as the humans surrounded his command crew. What is this? Keithmore demanded. How did you get on my ship? Sergeant Han Mi-young pointed her weapon at the alien admiral. Admiral Keithmore, you are now a prisoner of the Human Defense Forces. Order your fleet to stand down. Never, Keithmore said. My crew will fight you. But his crew was too shocked to fight. They had never seen anyone just appear inside their ship before. Their security systems had not even detected the humans until they were already there. One of the alien crew members tried to reach for a weapon. Lieutenant Kim Hae-won, one of Han's Marines, shot him with a kinetic round. The projectile went through the alien's arm and embedded itself in the wall behind him. The alien screamed and fell down. Anyone else want to try? Sergeant Han asked. The alien crew stepped back. They had heard about human violence, but they had never seen it up close. Most galactic species had forgotten how to fight with their own hands. Humans had not. Lieutenant Park Dong-hyun, another Marine, walked over to the ship's main computer. He plugged a small device into the control panel. Within seconds, he had complete control of the alien vessel. Sergeant, Park reported, I have control of their weapons, engines, and communication systems. The ship is ours. Admiral Kethmore could not believe what was happening. This is impossible. Our security systems are the best in the galaxy. We're the best, Sergeant Han corrected. Now they belong to us. She activated her communication device. Captain Lee, we have control of the enemy flagship. Waiting for orders. On the indomitable will, Lee smiled. Well done, Sergeant. Use their communication system to talk to the other alien ships. Tell them to surrender or we will take their ships too. Within minutes, 24 alien warships received a message from their own flagship. But the voice speaking was human, not alien. Attention, Hegemony Fleet, Sergeant Han said over the alien communication system. This is Sergeant Han Mi-young of the Human Defense Forces. We now control your flagship. We can take control of your ships too. Surrender now, or we will board each of your vessels one by one. The alien captains looked at their screens in horror. They could see human Marines walking around on Admiral Kethmore's bridge. The humans had done the impossible again, one by one. The alien ships powered down their weapons and sent surrender signals. The galaxy watched in amazement as 24 of the most powerful warships in known space gave up without firing a shot. They had been defeated by fear and the knowledge that humans could appear anywhere, anytime. Captain Lee opened a communication channel to the entire galactic network. This is Captain Lee Dae-ho of the Human Defense Forces. Today you have seen what happens when you threaten humanity. We are no longer hiding our abilities. We are no longer pretending to be weak. Any species that attacks human colonies or human ships will face the news of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On 1,000 worlds and 1,000,000 space stations, alien beings watched the recordings of the battle over and over again. They could not believe what they had seen. On Earth, President Kang Hye-ri stood in the Emergency Command Center, surrounded by military advisors and government officials. The large screens around her showed messages coming in from across human space and beyond. Madam President, said General Hong Seung-min, we are receiving communication requests from 47 different species. They all want to establish new diplomatic relations with humanity. President Kang smiled. 47 species that ignored us for 50 years now want to be our friends. How interesting. Ambassador Shin Tae-jun walked up to her. He was humanity's chief diplomat, a man who had spent decades being treated like a child by alien officials. Today his whole world had changed. Madam President, Shin said, the Galactic Federation Council has called an emergency session. They want to discuss humanity's new status in the galaxy. Our status? President Kang asked. What about our status? They want to know if we are planning to attack other species. They want to know how many ships like the Indomitable will we have. They want to know if we are going to take revenge for 50 years of being treated as inferior. President Kang thought about this. For 5 decades, humanity had been the weakest member of the Galactic Federation. They had been given the worst trade deals, the poorest colony worlds, and no voice in important decisions. Other species had treated humans like pets or slaves. Now suddenly everyone was afraid of humanity. Schedule the emergency session, President Kang said. But first I want to talk to Captain Lee. On the bridge of the Indomitable Will, Captain Lee Dae-ho was receiving reports from his crew. Sergeant Han Mi-young had returned from the alien flagship with her Marines. The captured hegemony ships were being held under guard by human forces. Captain, said Communications Officer Yoon Da-yoon, President Kang wants to speak with you on a secure channel. Lee nodded and walked to his private communication room. President Kang appeared on the screen and she looked proud but worried. Captain Lee, she said, you and your crew have changed everything. The whole galaxy is talking about the battle, but now we need to be very careful about what we do next. What are your orders, Madam President? Lee asked. The Galactic Federation wants to hold an emergency meeting. They want to discuss humanity's place in the galaxy. I need you to be there with your ship. Lee was surprised. You want me to bring the indomitable will to the Federation Council station? Yes, I want every alien leader to see our ship up close. I want them to remember what happened when they thought they could push humanity around. Understood, Madam President. We will head to the Council station immediately. Captain, President Kang said, her voice becoming serious. This is just the beginning. Today we showed them we can defend ourselves. Tomorrow we need to show them we can be leaders. The screen went dark and Lee returned to his bridge. Navigator, set course for the Galactic Federation Council station. Maximum speed. Yes, sir, said Navigator Oh Jin-soo. Estimated arrival time is 18 hours. As the indomitable will jumped to faster-than-light speed, messages continued to flood in from across the galaxy. Dr. Choi Ye-jin monitored the communications and reported to Captain Lee. Captain, the reaction is incredible. Some species are offering us trade deals that are 10 times better than anything we had before. Others are asking if we will protect them from the hegemony. A few are even offering to share their technology with us. Lee nodded. What about the hegemony? What are they doing? They are pulling all their fleets back to their home systems. They are also sending messages to other species, warning them not to ally with humanity. Engineer Park So-min looked up from her station. Captain, I am getting technical questions from scientists across the galaxy. They want to know how our weapons work. They want to know how we can teleport. They want to know how our armor can adapt to different attacks. What did you tell them? Lee asked. Nothing, So-min smiled. Let them wonder. Fear of the unknown is sometimes better than any weapon. 18 hours later, the indomitable will arrived at the Galactic Federation Council station. The station was enormous, big enough to hold 1 million beings from hundreds of different species. It was the center of galactic government, where laws were made and treaties were signed. As the human ship approached the station, hundreds of alien vessels moved out of its way. No one wanted to get too close to the ship that had destroyed a hegemony fleet. Captain, said Lieutenant Bae Jun-ho, the station is requesting permission to scan our ship. Denied, Lee said immediately. Tell them we will dock, but no scans are allowed. The station controllers were not happy about this, but they did not argue. No one wanted to upset the humans now. As the indomitable will docked with the station, crowds of aliens gathered to watch. Many of them had never seen a human ship up close. The ship looked smaller than the massive alien dreadnoughts. But everyone knew that size did not matter anymore. Captain Lee, Dr. Choi, and Ambassador Shin Tai-jun, who had arrived on a separate transport, walked through the station corridors toward the main council chamber. Aliens stepped aside to let them pass. Some stared in fear, others in curiosity, and a few in respect. The council chamber was huge, with seats for representatives from over 200 species. At the center sat the 5 permanent council members, the 4 hegemony races and the ancient ethereals, who were neutral in most conflicts. President Kang Hee-ri was already there, sitting in the small section that had always been reserved for humanity. For 50 years, the human section had been in the back corner, barely visible to the main council. Today, everyone was looking at it. The council leader, an ethereal named Zephanoth, called the session to order. Ethereals looked like floating jellyfish made of light. They were very old and very wise, and they rarely took sides in galactic politics. We are here, Zephanoth said in a voice like singing crystals, to discuss the recent events in the Kepler sector. The Hegemony Council has accused humanity of using illegal weapons and unprovoked attacks. Prime Crystal Veltar of the Vorthak stood up. His crystal body was still cracked from stress. The humans destroyed our ships without warning. They used weapons that should not exist. This is a violation of galactic law. President Kang stood up to respond. The Hegemony fleet attacked our ship first. They demanded our surrender and threatened to enslave our people. We defended ourselves, as any species has the right to do. Cloud-Mind Surfi of the Nelthrani swirled angrily. Your weapons penetrated our shields. This should be impossible. You must share this technology with the Council. Why? President Kang asked. Did you share your technology with us when you had the advantage? Did you offer to make us equal partners in the galaxy? The alien council members began talking loudly among themselves. Many species that had been treated badly by the hegemony were nodding in agreement with the human president. Hive Queen Zaktor of the Zephirites clicked her mandibles. The balance of power has changed. This threatens the stability of the galaxy. No, said President Kang firmly. The lack of balance threatens stability. For 10,000 years, 4 species have controlled everyone else. That was never going to last forever. Ambassador Shin Tae-jun stepped forward. The Galactic Federation was supposed to be about equality and cooperation. Instead, it became a tool for the strong to control the weak. Humanity is simply offering a different path. An alien representative from the Coralli species stood up. The Coralli were aquatic beings who had been forced to give up their best ocean worlds to the hegemony. What path do you offer, humans? President Kang smiled. True equality, fair trade, mutual protection. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We want to make sure no one else can rule it either. Network Node 7 of the Omnari processed this information. You speak of protection. Do you have the military power to protect other species? Captain Lee stood up for the first time. Every eye in the chamber turned to him. This was the man who had destroyed 10 hegemony warships with a single vessel. We have enough power to protect our friends, Lee said simply, and we have enough power to stop our enemies. He paused and looked directly at the hegemony representatives. The question is, which one do you want to be? The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew that this was the moment when the old galaxy ended and a new one began. Zephanoth, the ethereal council leader, spoke into the silence. Captain Lee, your ship demonstrated abilities that we thought were impossible. How many vessels like yours does humanity possess? Lee smiled. Enough. That is not an answer, Prime Crystal Veltar demanded. It is the only answer you will get, Lee replied. You will have to decide whether to test us or to work with us. President Kang stood up again. The Galactic Federation has a choice to make. You can try to maintain the old system, where a few species control everyone else, or you can build a new system based on equality and mutual respect. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from dozens of species. Choose carefully, she said, because humanity is no longer willing to accept inequality, and we are not the only species that feels this way. As if on cue, 30 different species stood up around the 3 months after the battle in the Kepler sector. The galaxy had become a very different place. Captain Lee Daeho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable Will, watching as 10 more ships just like his moved into formation around Earth. Each new ship was a masterpiece of human engineering. They looked similar to the original Indomitable Will, but each one had improvements based on what had been learned in the famous battle. The adaptive armor was stronger, the kinetic weapons were more powerful, and the teleportation systems could move entire fleets instantly. Captain, said Communications Officer Yoon Da-eun, Admiral Park Jin-woo is requesting permission to come aboard. Lee smiled. Admiral Park was his old mentor, the man who had secretly designed humanity's new military technology. For years, Park had worked in hidden laboratories, building weapons that the galaxy thought impossible. Permission granted, Lee said. Admiral Park Jin-woo appeared on the bridge a few minutes later. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes, but Lee knew he had one of the sharpest military minds in human space. Captain Lee, Admiral Park said, or should I say Admiral Lee? Lee looked surprised. Sir? Congratulations, Park smiled. President Kang has promoted you to Admiral. You are now in command of the first human fleet. Engineer Park So-min looked up from her station. Admiral? Our captain is now an admiral. That's right, Admiral Park Jin-woo said. Admiral Lee will command 11 ships just like this one. Each ship has a hand-picked crew, and each crew has been trained in the new human way of war. Dr. Choi Ye-jin turned from her science station. Admiral Park, how many species have asked to join our alliance? 43 so far, Admiral Park replied. The Coralli were first, followed by the Delvians, the Nexari, and dozens of others. All of them were tired of being pushed around by the hegemony. Lieutenant Bae Jun-ho spoke from his weapons station. What about the hegemony themselves? Are they still threatening war? Admiral Park's expression became serious. The Vorthak and Zephirites are building new fleets. They cannot accept that their time of controlling the galaxy is over. The Nelthrani and Omnari are being more careful, but they are still our enemies. Admiral Lee nodded. What are our orders? The Federation Council has officially recognized humanity as a major galactic power. We now have equal votes with the old hegemony races. But more importantly, we have been asked to patrol the galaxy and protect smaller species from hegemony aggression. This was what Admiral Lee had hoped for. Humanity was no longer just defending itself. They were protecting others who could not protect themselves. "Sir," said Sergeant Han Mi-young, who had been promoted to major, "my Marines are ready for anything. We have been training with the new equipment." The new equipment was impressive. Human Marines now had personal teleportation devices, armor that could adapt to any environment, and weapons that could penetrate any known defense. More importantly, they had something that no alien military had: the human fighting spirit. "There is something else," Admiral Park said. "President Kang wants to make an announcement to the galaxy. She is going to reveal the true size of our fleet." Admiral Lee was surprised. "I thought we were keeping that secret." "We were. But the hegemony is spreading rumors that we only have 1 or 2 ships like the Indomitable Will. Some species are starting to believe them. It is time to show the galaxy the truth." On Earth, President Kang Hee-ri stood before the cameras that would broadcast her speech to every world in the galaxy. Behind her, through a large window, the new human fleet could be seen in orbit. 11 ships that looked small compared to alien dreadnoughts. But everyone now knew that size meant nothing when it came to human vessels. "Citizens of the galaxy," President Kang began. 3 months ago, the Hegemony Council decided that humanity should be reduced to slavery. They sent 12 of their most powerful warships to enforce this decision. Those ships were defeated by 1 human vessel. She paused to let this reminder sink in across the galaxy. "Today, I want to show you what humanity has been building while the galaxy thought we were weak and helpless." The camera angle changed to show the space around Earth. 11 identical ships hung in orbit, their hulls gleaming with adaptive armor. "These are the first ships of the human defense fleet," President Kang continued. "Each one is as powerful as the Indomitable Will. Each one is crewed by humans who have trained their entire lives for this moment." On the Vorthak homeworld, Prime Crystal Veltar watched the broadcast with growing fear. 11 ships like the one that had destroyed his fleet meant that humanity could now challenge the entire hegemony military. "But this is not just about military power," President Kang said. "This is about justice. For too long, the strong have controlled the weak in this galaxy. The hegemony has forced smaller species to give up their best worlds, their resources, and their freedom." The camera showed the president's face again. Her expression was determined but not angry. "Humanity offers a different path. We offer protection to any species that wants to live in freedom. We offer fair trade to any species that wants to prosper. We offer friendship to any species that treats others with respect." She looked directly into the camera, and every being in the galaxy felt like she was speaking to them personally. But to those who choose the path of oppression, who believe that might makes right, who think they can continue to enslave and exploit others. Her voice became harder. "You will find that humanity stands in your way." The broadcast ended and the galaxy began to react. On hundreds of worlds, oppressed species cheered and celebrated. On the hegemony homeworlds, military leaders held emergency meetings and began planning for war. Back on the Indomitable Will, Admiral Lee received his first assignment as fleet commander. The Vorthak had attacked a Corelli colony world, trying to punish the aquatic species for allying with humanity. "All ships," Admiral Lee said over the fleet communication system. "This is Admiral Lee. We are going to the Corelli system to stop the Vorthak attack. This will be our first mission as a complete fleet." The 11 ships of the first human fleet jumped to faster than light speed. They moved as one unit, their navigation systems synchronized perfectly. When they arrived at the Corelli system, they found 8 Vorthak warships bombarding the ocean world from orbit. The crystal ships were firing energy weapons at the underwater cities where millions of Corelli lived. "This is Admiral Lee of the Human Defense Fleet," Lee announced on all frequencies. "Vorthak vessels, you will stop your attack immediately and withdraw from this system." The Vorthak commander, Crystal Admiral Zethkar, responded with anger. "Human ship, you have no authority here. This is hegemony space." "No," Admiral Lee said calmly. "This is Corelli space, and the Corelli are under human protection." "You have 1 ship," Admiral Zethkar said. "We have 8. "You cannot stop us," Admiral Lee smiled. "Look again." The Vorthak sensors suddenly detected 11 human ships surrounding their fleet. The human vessels had used their teleportation ability to appear in perfect attack formation. "Now you have 8 ships," Admiral Lee said. "We have 11. The question is, do you want to learn what happened to Admiral Kethmore's fleet?" For a moment, space was silent. The Vorthak remembered the reports from the Kepler sector. 12 ships had been reduced to 2 in less than an hour. All Vorthak vessels, Admiral Zethkar finally said. Withdraw from the system. The crystal ships powered down their weapons and began to retreat. They had learned that fighting humans was not like fighting other species. As the Vorthak fleet disappeared into faster-than-light travel, the Coralli sent grateful messages to the human ships. Their ocean cities were safe and their people were free. Admiral, said Major Han Mi-young. That was almost too easy, Admiral Lee nodded. The reputation of one ship has become the shield of the entire galaxy. Other species are starting to understand that attacking human allies means facing human fleets. Dr. Choi Ye-jin looked at her sensors. Admiral, I am detecting celebration signals from 47 different worlds. They are all species that have been threatened by the hegemony. Engineer Park So-min smiled. It looks like we are not just protecting the Coralli, we are protecting everyone who wants to be free. Over the following months, the human defense fleet grew. More ships were built, more crews were trained, and more species asked for protection. The galaxy was changing from a place where the strong ruled the weak to a place where the strong protected the weak. Admiral Lee stood on his bridge, looking out at the stars. 6 months ago, he had been the captain of an experimental ship on a patrol mission. Now he commanded a fleet that kept peace in the galaxy. Lieutenant Bae Jun-ho looked up from his station. Admiral, we are receiving a message from a new species, the Tilari. They are asking if we will protect them from Zephyrite raids. Set course for the Tilari system, Admiral Lee ordered. Let's show them what human protection means. As the Indomitable Will led its fleet toward another mission, Admiral Lee thought about how much had changed. The galaxy had trembled when one human ship struck back against oppression. Now it was learning that humanity would always stand with those who could not stand for themselves. The age of the hegemony was over. The age of human protection had begun. In the distance, new human ships were being built in secret shipyards. Young humans were training to be the next generation of galactic